Today in this video, we will be solving a problem on differential cost analysis. The question goes like this. A company's flexible budget at various levels of production reveals the following. The output for 6 levels of output is given. The selling price, total semi-fixed cost, total variable cost, and total fixed cost is given for the different levels of activity, with which you are required to prepare a schedule showing the total differential cost and increments in revenue. And also you need to decide on what level should the company set its level of production. Also, what is the selling price that is to be recommended in order to maximize the profits. So to solve quickly, let's move into the Excel. So before we could solve the problem, we need to understand the first question. To prepare the schedule of differential cost and incremental cost, we require first is the total sales value. So we require total sales value to calculate the incremental revenue. And to calculate the differential cost, you require the total cost. But in the problem, we have not given us total sales value, nor they have given us total cost, but they have given the necessary information to calculate the total sales value and the total cost. They have given us the output in thousands and the selling price is given, with the help of which we can calculate the total sales value. Similarly, to calculate the total cost, they have been given the information, the total semi-fixed cost, variable cost, and the total fixed cost is given. So with the help of these three, we can calculate the total cost. So quickly moving on to the solution, let's move on to the Excel. So first, take the heading schedule showing the incremental revenue and differential cost. So we are solving the problem. So the output is given in thousands. So we will take the value in thousands only. So 30,000, 60,000, 90,000, 1,20,000, 1,50,000, and 1,80,000 as given in the question is taken. And similarly, the selling price is also taken here. The selling price is 24 rupees, 22, 20, 18, 16, and 14. Now it becomes easy for us to calculate the sales value. So how do we calculate sales value? Sales value is equal to output into selling price. So output into selling price would give us the total sales value. Similarly, we apply the same formula for all the levels of activity. So the sales value is 7,20,000, 13,20,000, 18 lakh, 21,60,000, 24 lakh, and 25,20,000. Now we are to calculate the incremental revenue. So what is incremental revenue? Incremental is the increase in the sales from one year to that of the other year. So we have the first level of activity here. So here incremental revenue would be calculated as the difference between the first level to the second level, the second level to the third level. So the increase in the sales value from the first level of output to the second level of output, and from the second level of output to the third level output. So here the base would be the first level of output. Hence, in the first year, as we have 7,20,000, and that's the first year, there would be no value as such. There is no incremental revenue because that is the base year. Now coming to the second level of activity, from 7,20,000, the activity or the level of activity has increased from 7,20,000 to 13,20,000. That means this shows an incremental increase in the revenue. That means the current year sales are more than that, or the current level of sales are more than the previous level of sales. So that means there is an incremental revenue. When the current sales revenue is lesser than the previous level of sales, that means there is said to be a decrease in the value. So that is called as decremental revenue. So if you look into the sales value over the level of activities, it is increasing day after day. So as such, we would be calculating the revenue. So now let's calculate. So the first is nil. The second, it would be increase in revenue. So the increase would be the current year sales, or I mean to say the current level of activity minus the previous level of activity. So for the first year, the increment is nil, because at this level of activity, or this is the first level of activity, so we can calculate the incremental revenue only from the second level of activity. So here we would be getting current level of activity minus previous level activity. So it is. So this is how we are going to imply. So it's going to calculate is equal to current level of activity minus the previous level activity. So I use the same formula for the rest of the levels of activity. And you could see that over the period of time, or over the different levels of activity, the revenue is increased. So now, as we have completed with the calculation of incremental revenue, let's move on to the calculation of total cost. So let us take the cost which is given. So from the problem, the total semi-fixed cost is equal to 150,000. So this is given in thousands. So 150,000, 150,000, 1,70,000, 1,70,000, 2 lakhs, and 2 lakhs. So let's quickly take it. So it is 150. This is expressed in thousands. Next it is 170. 170, 2 lakhs, and 2 lakhs. And similarly, the variable cost also is given, and we take the same variable cost expressed in 1,000 into the column. So this is also expressed in 1,000. So this is 480,000. Next we have 880. 1,278. 1,579. 1,778 and 1,902. And 1,902. And the fixed cost is also given in thousands, and it is 142 across the levels of activity. So it is 1,42,000 across the. Now the total cost is equal to semi-variable cost plus variable cost plus fixed cost is equal to your total cost. So let's calculate the total cost. Semi-variable cost plus variable cost plus fixed cost gives you the total cost. I apply the same formula to all the other levels of activity. And now we can calculate the differential cost. The differential cost is equal to, as I told you, as we calculated incremental revenue, the same technique we are going to use it here. We compare the cost of one level with that of the other level. So in the first level, the comparison is the same level, so we are having nil, so we don't have. And now coming to the second level, from 7,10,000, we have increased to, the cost is increased to, this shows an increasing cost. So what is the increase in cost over the period of time? So how do we calculate? The current level of the total cost, the current total cost at the present level minus the total cost of previous level. So again, I'll show you the calculation. Differential cost is equal to current level of activities total cost minus the previous level's total cost. So we get 480 here. So I apply the same formula to the other levels of activity as well. Now, as asked in the question, they have asked us to prepare the schedule of total differential cost and incremental cost. So we are done with it. Now you are supposed to find out the level at which the company should set its level of activity, for which we are going to use the logic of finding the incremental cost. That means we compare only the incremental cost and differential cost. So you are going to, so this is the first question, this is the first part of the answer. So we have done with the first part of the answer. Now coming to the second part of the answer, we are supposed to find out the level at which the company should set its production. At what level should the company set its level of production? For which we are going to compare the incremental revenue and the differential cost column. So while comparing the incremental cost and differential cost column, what are you looking for? So it is suggestible for the company to accept the level of activity where the incremental revenue is greater than the differential cost. So at any level of activity where the incremental revenue is greater than differential cost, you can accept the level or choose this level of activity or choose the level of if your incremental revenue is lesser than the differential cost, then it is advisable not to accept or choose the level of activity. Now the question is, what if your incremental revenue is equal to your decremental cost? At any level of activity, if you find that your incremental revenue is equal to the differential cost, you have to look into the next level of activity and find out if there is an increase in the incremental revenue, or find out if the IR, incremental revenue, is more than the differential cost. I repeat again, what if incremental revenue is equal to differential cost at any level of output? In that scenario, you need to look into the following level of activity and find out if there is an increase or decrease in the level of activity. If there is a decrease in the level of, at the next level, if there is a decrease in the incremental revenue and differential cost, or if the incremental revenue is lesser than the differential cost, then this you have to find out the level at which your incremental revenue is greater than the differential cost. So look ahead to the other levels of activity and then decide. Okay. Now coming to our question, when you compare the incremental revenue with the differential cost, you need to find out at what level your incremental revenue is greater than the differential cost. So any level where the incremental revenue is more than the differential cost, that level you can go for accepting. So as we have got the values in thousands, we are expressing it in thousands. Let me express them as thousands as well. It becomes easier for comparisons. Let me take it in thousands. It becomes easy for our calculation, so we will take it. So I am expressing incremental revenue in thousands. So this would be that. So we are going to compare only these two columns, the one which is marked in blue color. So in the first year, it is the incremental revenue is nil and differential cost is nil. So we go ahead. The second level, we have 600 as the incremental revenue and 400 is the differential cost. So your cost is less here. Again, you look into the third level of activity, you have 480 as your revenue and your differential cost is also 480. As I told you, when incremental revenue is equal to differential cost, you look into the other level of activity as well and find out whether there is still an increase or decrease. So the next level is we have 360 as your incremental revenue and we have 301. That means your differential cost is lesser than your incremental revenue. And coming to the next year, we have your incremental revenue is 240. It is increased from increased by 240,000. That is 2,40,000. And your cost is also increased to 2,29,000, but it is lesser than the incremental revenue. So your incremental revenue is more than your differential cost. So now we have the last revenue is 1,20,000. Incremental revenue is 120, whereas differential cost is more than your incremental revenue. Differential cost is more than incremental revenue. Quickly by using the formula, what I said, always your incremental revenue should be greater than your differential cost. So let's find out at what level it is more. So we have value here, so we will not take for a second. So it's equal to my incremental revenue should be more than your differential cost. So you should have a positive incremental value. So when I find the difference between the incremental revenue and differential cost, if you see here, you have incremental revenue is, we have excess of incremental revenue, 200 excess of incremental revenue. In the second, in the next level, you have both are equal. And in the next level, you have a positive, incremental revenue is more than differential cost by 59,000. And in the next level also you have the incremental revenue is said to be more by 11,000. But when you come to the last solutions, last level, you can see that the incremental revenue is lesser than differential cost by 4,000. So it means that you can fix a level of 1,50,000. So this could be the level of activity where you can go for fixing. So we have found an level where your incremental revenue is more than, so up to the level where your incremental revenue is greater than your differential cost, you can take it. So what is the number of units you can manufacture? So it is suggestible for the company to increase the level of production as long as the incremental revenue is more than the differential cost. So at 1 lakh till 1,50,000, your incremental revenue is said to be more than the differential cost. So it is acceptable for the company to extend its level of production to 1,50,000 units. So this would be the answer for your second question. So it is acceptable for the company to extend its level of production till 1,50,000. So that is the answer of your second question. Now coming to the third question, what selling price is recommended by you in order to maximize the profits? So the selling price recommended is, if you look into here, you have decided the level of production of 1,50,000 units. So as you have decided at 1,50,000, then the selling price at this level of activity is rupees 16,000. So it is suggestible to sell at rupees 16. So what is the selling price? So as the company is recommended to choose 1,50,000 level of activity, and the selling price at this level as given is rupees 60,000. Sorry, is rupees 16. It is suggested or it is recommended to sell at rupees 16 per unit. So with this, we come to the end. Any doubts, please put in the chat box. Thank you. Have a nice day.